Welcome back, everybody. Ready to dive into some seriously intense literature?
Oh yeah, bring on the intensity.
Today, it's Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment.
Classic.
We've got excerpts from the novel itself, some background on Dostoevsky, and I'm telling you, even just prepping for this, I was getting chills.
I get it. It's not just a murder mystery, right? It's like we're right there in Raskolnikov's head.
Exactly. And then add in that Dostoevsky himself dealt with epilepsy.
Yeah, that adds another whole dimension, doesn't it?
For sure, like how much of his own struggles are reflected in Raskolnikov?
It's a question worth asking, isn't it? I mean, the seizures were a constant in his life, must have shaped his whole outlook.
Right, and you can't talk about Crime and Punishment without talking about the setting.
St. Petersburg.
Yeah, it's like a character itself.
Totally. That sense of poverty and claustrophobia, it just oozes off the page.
Seriously, it's so much more than just a backdrop.
Exactly. Dostoevsky was a master at using setting to create this almost suffocating atmosphere.
Like the pawnbroker's apartment, right?
Oh yeah, you can practically hear that bell ringing, feel the tension in the air.
It's almost like the city itself is pushing Raskolnikov to the edge.
You know, it makes me wonder, could anyone living in those conditions not be pushed towards some sort of extreme?
It's a good point. Makes you think about the social commentary aspect, too.
Oh yeah, definitely woven throughout the whole story.
Yeah.
You've got characters like Marmeladov struggling with alcoholism.
Katerina Ivanovna trying to keep her family from falling apart.
And then there's Sonya.
Oh, Sonya.
Forced into prostitution just to survive.
It's heartbreaking.
It is, but it's also so real. It's Dostoevsky forcing us to confront the harsh realities of the time.
It's almost like he's saying these conditions are pushing people to a breaking point.
Right, and then you have Raskolnikov's motivations.
He thinks murder is the answer.
Yeah, like a twisted solution to poverty and his family struggles.
His logic is so warped, but I kind of get where it comes from.
It's the desperation talking.
Sonya's the total opposite.
Oh yeah, complete contrast.
Even in the worst possible circumstances, she clings to her faith.
It's incredible.
She's like a tiny flame of hope in this whole bleak landscape.
You know, it makes you think about your own life, right? Where do you find strength when things get tough? What principles do you hold on to?
Powerful stuff, and it just shows how timeless Dostoevsky's work is.
Totally. These struggles, these characters, they're still relevant today.
And then there's the psychological torture Raskolnikov goes through after the murders.
Oh man, the guilt, the paranoia, the insomnia, Dostoevsky really lays it all out there.
It's vivid. You can practically feel it, and it's not just some internal thing.
I hope it's right there in his actions.
Returning to the crime scene, asking about the blood.
Almost like he wants to be caught.
Does he? Is it a subconscious desire for punishment?
Or maybe something else altogether.
It's such a complex portrayal of guilt, isn't it?
It is. It's not always simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
It can manifest in all sorts of strange ways.
And you know, this ties back to Dostoevsky's epilepsy.
Oh, how so?
Well, the seizures often left him disoriented, confused.
Almost like he was struggling to make sense of the world.
Exactly. And I wonder if that experience influenced how he portrayed Raskolnikov's mental state.
That's fascinating. It's like he's trying to convey that feeling of internal chaos.
Right, being trapped inside your own mind.
And then there's that whole extraordinary man concept.
Oh yeah, Raskolnikov's obsession.
Like some people are above conventional morality.
Can break the law for some greater purpose.
A dangerous idea.
Super dangerous. And I'm curious, what's your take? Do you think Dostoevsky buys into this theory, or is he using it to expose the flaws in Raskolnikov's thinking?
That's a great question. You know, I think he's using it more to expose those flaws.
It feels like he's exploring the dark side of ambition and how we can twist morality to fit our own desires.
And don't forget Porfiry Petrovich.
The detective.
Yeah, he's almost fascinated by this theory.
And he uses it to manipulate Raskolnikov.
Total mind games going on.
It's like he sees right through Raskolnikov.
Recognizes the turmoil underneath.
It reminds me how appearances can be deceiving.
Even the most brilliant minds can crack under pressure.
Exactly, and it makes you think about justice, too. What's Porfiry's goal? Punishment or understanding?
It's interesting because he doesn't really fit the typical detective mold, does he?
Not at all. He's digging into Raskolnikov's soul, not just trying to lock him up.
And speaking of complex characters, there's Svidrigailov.
Oh, man. Talk about morally ambiguous.
Right. He's got this troubled past, makes those creepy advances toward Dunya.
But then he offers to help Sonya and the orphans.
It's hard to pin him down. Is he good or bad?
I honestly don't know. It's like he's testing the boundaries of what's acceptable.
And makes you question your own judgment for sure.
It's making me rethink my initial impression of him for sure.
And speaking of rethinking, we know Raskolnikov eventually confesses.
That's a huge turning point.
But it's not just about fear of getting caught, is it?
There's this internal pressure to, like, the guilt becomes too much to bear.
Like he's been living in his own personal prison.
And confession is his only way out.
It's a powerful moment. But even after confessing, he doesn't fully grasp the consequences.
There's still a part of him clinging to that extraordinary man delusion.
Like his crime was somehow justified.
Which is where Siberia comes in.
The ultimate test.
The name itself sends chills down my spine.
Definite. Isolation, hardship.
It makes you realize punishment goes way beyond the physical.
It's the mental and emotional toll that really breaks you down.
It makes you wonder, will he find redemption in that desolate place?
Or will he be haunted forever?
We'll have to explore that more in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait. So Raskolnikov's in Siberia now?
Exiled?
And it's more than just a change of scenery, right?
Oh, yeah. This is a journey into the depths of his soul.
Into a world stripped bare of everything he knows.
Dostoevsky doesn't hold back either.
Nope. He lays out the brutal realities of prison life.
The hard labor, the isolation, the constant threat of violence.
It all adds to this feeling of despair and punishment.
But there's also this sense that Siberia offers a chance.
A chance for what?
For Raskolnikov to confront himself. You know? Strip away all those justifications.
Get to the core of who he really is.
Exactly. And it makes me think about those dreams he keeps having.
The ones where he's back in the pawnbroker's apartment?
Yeah. Or the one with the horse being beaten.
Brutal imagery.
It's like Dostoevsky is showing us the violence simmering beneath the surface.
Both in Raskolnikov and in society itself.
Like maybe those external forces, the poverty, the inequality, it all feeds into that internal darkness.
It's a powerful connection to make.
Makes you wonder, though, does Dostoevsky offer any hope?
Hope for what?
For escape from that cycle of violence and despair, are we all just products of our environment?
It's a question he grapples with, for sure. Well, I think one of the key themes is the possibility of redemption.
Redemption even for someone like Raskolnikov.
Even for a murderer.
He seems to think he was justified.
True. But his journey towards redemption, it's complex.
Meaning?
It's not a sudden epiphany.
Yeah.
You know, it's a gradual unraveling of his pride and self-deception.
So what prompts that shift?
Well, it's definitely a process, but Sonya plays a huge role.
She follows him to Siberia.
Unwavering in her support.
It's incredible she could have stayed in St. Petersburg, tried to rebuild her life.
But she chooses to walk beside him through this darkness.
She sees the good in him when he can't even see it himself.
It's a testament to the power of compassion and belief.
It's humbling, you know? Makes you think about how quick we are to judge others.
Write people off.
Sonya reminds us that everyone deserves a chance.
A chance for what?
A chance at redemption no matter how far they've strayed.
It's a powerful message.
But does Raskolnikov even want to be redeemed?
That's the thing. He's resistant, pushing Sonya away, clinging to his pride.
That's what makes it so real, right?
Exactly. Dostoevsky doesn't sugarcoat it. Redemption is a messy process.
It's a battle against your own ego.
On your own demons.
But even in his resistance, there are these glimmers of change.
Oh, yeah. Those moments of vulnerability.
When he breaks down, seeks comfort in Sonya.
Like a tiny seed being planted.
And those seeds are nurtured by love and compassion, not by force.
Think about those scenes where she reads to him from the gospel.
Offering a different perspective.
A way out of the darkness.
It's like she's giving him the words he can't find himself.
And those words start to break down his walls.
It's amazing how those little moments of connection can have such a big impact.
And it's not just Sonya. There's the prison chaplain, too.
Oh, yeah, offering a more human kind of faith.
And even some of the other prisoners.
Hardened criminals, but they show kindness.
It's like even in the darkest places, humanity shines through.
It really makes you think about the power of community.
Even in the most unlikely of settings.
And how even small acts of empathy can make a difference.
Which brings us back to that social commentary we talked about.
Right. Dostoevsky isn't just interested in individual psychology.
He's critiquing the whole system.
The systems that create these breeding grounds for crime and despair.
And Siberia, in a way, becomes this microcosm of society.
With its own hierarchies and injustices.
But also its own potential for hope and redemption.
It makes you realize that personal transformation and social change are connected.
You can't really have one without the other.
So much to think about.
Isn't there?
It's the final part of our deep dive into crime and punishment. And honestly, I'm still reeling from Raskolnikov's journey.
It's intense, right? Even in Siberia, he's wrestling with himself, those justifications just falling apart.
It's wild Dostoevsky leaves us hanging, even after the confession.
Hanging? How so?
Like, is Raskolnikov truly repentant, or is this just another layer of his psychological torture?
It's the question, isn't it? I mean, look at his situation. He's surrounded by criminals living in squalor, doing hard labor.
But the real battle is happening inside him, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Siberia becomes this mirror of his internal state, Harsh, unforgiving. It strips away all his intellectual defenses.
And then there's Sonya.
She's remarkable, isn't she?
To follow him to Siberia, she could have stayed in St. Petersburg, tried to move on.
But she chooses to be there with him in that desolate place.
Yeah. It's like the ultimate act of compassion, right?
It really is. She sees something in him that's worth saving.
Her faith is something else. It's not about judging. It's about believing in redemption.
Even for a murderer.
Exactly. It makes you examine your own life,
Yeah.
How quick are we to judge others? To write people off?
Sonya challenges that impulse, doesn't she?
She really does. She reminds us that everyone deserves a chance.
A chance for what?
A chance at redemption, a chance to change no matter what they've done.
It's a powerful message.
But back to Raskolnikov, does he even want to be redeemed?
That's the struggle, isn't it? He pushes Sonya away, clings to his pride.
Which I guess makes it all the more realistic.
Yeah. Dostoevsky doesn't give us a simple, happy ending. Redemption is a process.
And a painful one at that.
It's about confronting your darkest self.
But even in Raskolnikov's resistance, there are these little moments.
Moments of what?
Moments of vulnerability, When he breaks down, when he seeks comfort from Sonya.
Like a tiny flicker of hope.
And those flickers, they're nurtured by compassion, not by force.
Those scenes where she reads to him from the Gospels.
They're so powerful.
She's not preaching at him. She's offering him something.
A way out.
A different way of seeing the world.
And slowly, those words start to chip away at his defenses.
The power of simple human connection.
It's amazing, right? How even in the darkest places, these small acts of kindness can make a difference.
And it's not just Sonya. There's the prison chaplain.
Oh, yeah. He offers a different kind of faith.
More human eye, less about rules and judgment.
And even some of the prisoners show moments of compassion.
It's like Dostoevsky is saying that humanity can persist even in the most brutal environments.
It makes you think about the role of community.
And how even when we're surrounded by suffering, we can still find ways to connect with each other.
Which brings us back to that social commentary that runs through the whole novel.
Right, Dostoevsky isn't just exploring individual psychology.
He's looking at the systems that create the conditions for crime and despair.
And in a way, Siberia becomes this microcosm of society as a whole.
With its own hierarchies and injustices.
But also its potential for hope and redemption.
It's all connected, isn't it? Personal change and social change.
You can't really separate the two.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the question remains, does Raskolnikov achieve true redemption?
Does he?
Or is it left open to interpretation?
That's the beauty of Dostoevsky. He doesn't give us easy answers.
The novel ends with Raskolnikov still in Siberia.
But there's this feeling that he's finally given himself over to the process.
To repentance, to accepting his punishment.
Not just the legal punishment, but the deeper spiritual kind.
It reminds us that redemption isn't a destination, it's a journey.
It's messy.
Yeah.
It takes time, and there's no guarantee of success.
And it's not about being perfect. It's about recognizing our flaws, accepting responsibility, and striving to be better.
That's a journey we all take, isn't it?
We all make mistakes. We all have things we regret.
Dostoevsky challenges us to confront those dark parts of ourselves.
To acknowledge the harm we've caused and to embrace the possibility of change.
He reminds us that even in the midst of suffering, there's always hope.
Hope for healing, hope for connection, and hope for a better future.
So as we finish up our deep dive into crime and punishment, we want to leave you with this.
What resonated with you most from this exploration?
What insights have you gained about yourself, about society, about the human condition?
And maybe even more importantly, how will you apply those insights to your own life?
Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the depths of Dostoevsky's masterpiece.
Until next time, may your own deep dives be filled with profound discoveries and maybe even a little bit of redemption.